Despite a one-month reprieve from the courts, Thunder Bay's safe consumption site closes its doors. Good evening and thank you for joining us. Norwest Community Health Center's safe consumption site, known as Path 525, is no longer in operation.
The facility on Simpson Street will still offer other drug-related services to its clients as a new provincially funded Heart Hub, which is set to open its doors tomorrow. Jonathan Wilson reports.
After 6 years in operation, the Path 525 safe consumption site at Norwest closed its doors late Monday afternoon. The move came despite an injunction granted by the Superior Court on Friday, meant to allow 10 supervised consumption sites to stay open for at least another month. Norwest joined 8 other sites in the province that are still closing, with only one safe consumption site taking advantage of the injunction.
The injunction does allow an opportunity for sites that are not provincially funded. And so our site is provincially funded. And with the funding that we're receiving for the Heart Hub, and then also the fact that consumption and treatment sites are provincially funding, that we will not have funding as of tomorrow, there's not an option to continue on.
Norwest CEO Juanita Lawson explains they've had a lot of time to process the closure of Path 525 and to plan with clients and staff. The Lifeguard app will still be available, and Lawson notes Norwest will have a drug analyzer that'll soon be up and running. She says as an organization and a community, they recognize there's still a need for individuals who are continuing to use substances.
There's been conversations with emergency medical services, our police services, our regional hospitals, and with public health about how people might be supported in a way that need to be supported so that they don't experience a toxic overdose.
Lawson says moving forward, community partners will be working to ensure clients also have access to services through the new Heart Hub.
While we will not be able to distribute, harm reduction kits, or we won't be able to offer safe supply or supervised injection, there still will be an opportunity to connect people with individuals and with service teams and organizations, or address their wound care from a primary care perspective.
The Heart Hub is set to launch on Tuesday. Jonathan Wilson, TBT News.
A Toronto man has been found not guilty of second-degree murder in connection with a stabbing death over 3 years ago in Thunder Bay. 28-year-old Khalid Ali Mohammed was arrested by city police following the fatal incident in the downtown North Core. 36-year-old Stephen Burns died in hospital after he was found on Park Avenue with serious stab wounds in October of 2021. The trial was held last fall, and Mohammed admitted he came to Thunder Bay to make money selling drugs. He said the altercation started when Burns and another man beat and robbed him at a Northside residence. Mohammed then pursued them outside, and Burns pulled out a knife. Mohammed said he feared for his life and managed to turn the knife away and stab Burns. Today, the judge found Mohammed not guilty by means of self-defense. The full story can be found on tbnewswatch.com.
A fatal fire in Sioux Lookout over the weekend has left one person dead. The blaze broke out in the partially demolished Zone Hospital building on 7th Avenue just before 7 o'clock on Saturday morning. Police say emergency responders found a fully involved structural fire when they arrived. The victim hasn't yet been identified. The Ontario Fire Marshal's office is now investigating alongside Sioux Lookout Fire Services and OPP.
Ontario Provincial Police are investigating a suspicious death in Pikangikum First Nation. Officers got a call about a person in distress near Airport Road this past Thursday. 50-year-old Douglas Turtle of Pikangikum was pronounced dead at the scene. Police and the coroner's office continue to investigate. Anyone with information is asked to contact the OPP or Crime Stoppers.
Ontario's Integrity Commissioner says a Greenbelt lobbyist who used to work for Premier Doug Ford broke rules while asking for clients' land to be removed from the protected lands. CTV's Siobhan Morris explains.
The Integrity Commissioner has determined a lobbyist broke ethics rules while pushing to take land out of the Greenbelt for development, something he succeeded at before a government reversal. The lobbyist is Nico Fedani-Diker, someone with a years-long bond to the Ford family. He worked in the office of late Toronto Mayor Rob Ford, moving up the street to Queen's Park when Doug Ford became Premier. The province's ethics watchdog says Fedani-Diker's first mistake was not registering as a lobbyist while working on the Greenbelt file. He also put 2 public office holders in real or potential conflict of interest by offering them tickets to a Leafs game. The opposition leader calls this deeply concerning.
I think this is also a scathing indictment of a cash for access culture within this party.
Stiles wants the Integrity Commissioner to go a step further.
Share with the people of Ontario publicly who those 2 public office holders are.
The case has spotlighted the lack of consequences for rule breakers, including those who ought to have known those rules well.
I think it's a little more serious than publishing just their names.
There are calls on the government to give the law that governs lobbying more teeth.
He should be barred from any lobbying of this government going forward. That's not going to happen, given how weak the legislation is.
The Greenbelt land removal plan remains under investigation by the Mounties. The Integrity Commissioner previously determined it was more likely than not that developers were tipped off a change was coming. The Liberal leader describes today's finding as a falling domino.
And I expect that whether the Integrity Commissioner or the RCMP investigation will lead to more of those dominoes falling.
Fadani Diker says he never intended to break the rules and accepts full responsibility. A spokesperson for the Premier's office says they expect anyone who advocates to the government to follow the law. At Queen's Park, Siobhan Morris, CTV News.
16 people have graduated from a First Nations-led training program. Chimino Ojibwin officials gave the grads their certificates as they celebrated with their family, friends, and communities. 9 graduated from the Administrative Clerk program and 7 from the BZ School Bus Driver Training Program. All of the organization's training opportunities focus on skills that are needed in various communities. As the graduates embark on their new career paths, they say they're hoping to make a big difference.
It'll help the younger people, I think, to follow behind me. I wish they would too, because I'm going to be helping them to get their licenses too in the future. Like there's a couple more I'd like to give a hand to.
We all had this really great dynamic together and this ability to work really well with each other. So I'm very happy. I'm really proud of them. I'm proud of myself. We did it, you know. I can't wait to see how everybody excels with what they've learned.
To all the grads that went through the program, I congratulate them all. It's it's part of your determination and why we're here today. So I thank them for participating with us and being a part of our team.
More information about the organization's training opportunities can be found on its website.
A local teenager is in southern Ontario after being diagnosed with a rare and aggressive form of bone cancer.
Back here at home, the Town Line Equestrian Centre organized a fundraiser yesterday to help Kira Rooney and her family cover expenses during that battle. Emma Chilton reports.
Kira Rooney was 14 years old when she was diagnosed with Ewing sarcoma, a rare and aggressive form of bone cancer. She is receiving treatment at Sick Kids Hospital in Toronto for the next 8 to 9 months. One of the owners of the Town Line Equestrian Centre, Julie Gergerich, says Rooney's mother, Kelly, is one of their clients and teaches goat yoga at the centre.
We found out that her daughter has cancer, and so we thought, how can we come together as a community and do something for her and her family? And so here we are.
Gate admission was $10, pony rides were $2, and raffle tickets were being sold for prizes. All funds will help Kira and her family with living expenses while living in Toronto for her treatment.
There is an admission. It's considered a donation. We have all kinds of things running. We have pony rides for the kids after 2 o'clock. We have goat yoga from 1 to 2. And then we have open farm where you can wander around with your family, have hot chocolate, and enjoy the farm.
As of March 20th, Kira has completed 2 out of 12 chemotherapy cycles. She will have surgery to remove the tumor in her leg and most of her fibula bone. This will happen after the 6th cycle of chemotherapy, and then she will continue to complete her treatment.
Let's say the sky's the limit. We're praying for, a great turnout. I think anything is better than nothing. And, we're doing the best we can, to do our part to help them in any way we can. So we're just looking forward to all the turnout from the community, the support we've gotten from all the local businesses, and including Rydens, actually. We've got to give them credit too. We got so many great prizes to give away today.
A GoFundMe page has already raised over $46,000 so far with a goal of $50,000. To make a donation, you can go to Kira Rooney's GoFundMe page or contact the Equestrian Centre by email. Emma Chilton, TBT News.
Well, the political tension between Canada and the U.S. continues to intensify amid the escalating trade war.
But the relationship between the border towns of Fort Frances and International Falls remains strong. Brendan Miller spoke to a woman who organized a recent gathering on the bridge connecting the two communities. He brings us this report.
This past Saturday, about 150 residents from both sides of the border met on the bridge that connects Fort Frances, Ontario and International Falls, Minnesota. The idea was to exemplify that the two towns count on one another, not just for business, as the ties run deep within the overall community. Mary Waters, who lives on the U.S. side, explains how quickly word spread from a Facebook post and how many people were eager to participate.
So a friend posted it last Monday night. And in 4 days, there was so much support, it virtually organized itself.
Waters was born in the United States. Her mother remarried a Canadian border officer, and they moved to Fort Frances. After going to school across the same bridge, she'd see her best friend from first grade again.
When we saw each other and we started waving, and so that was really very wonderful. And then we held hands and stretched across the span of the bridge, connected the two countries. And even though we didn't know the words, thank you, Sly and the Family Stone, we sang We Are Family.
Despite the political tension, ordinary people on both sides of the border continue to trust one another, demonstrating how important and long-standing the relationships are. Brendan Miller, TBT News.
Thunder Bay fire rescue officials are warning the public to stay off the ice in the local harbor after fire crews had to bring out the airboat and order 3 people to walk back to shore. It happened early this afternoon near Marina Park. Eyewitnesses reported seeing them walking out onto the ice towards the breakwall. The entire local harbor is off limits in the winter months, even when the ice is solid. This time of year can be especially dangerous as the icebreakers have already created open channels around the port. Fire rescue officials say the people were issued warnings by city police when they got back to shore.
After being forced to spend the winter in Thunder Bay, an ocean-going vessel was launched back into the local harbor this past weekend. The federal Yoshino was repaired at the Thunder Bay Shipyard.
Let it go, guys! Let it go!
The freighter struck a submerged portion of a wharf in the Cam River in late December and sustained damage to its rudder and other parts of the ship. Officials with Ontario Shipyards quickly mobilized the idled facility in dry dock as soon as the company received the contract to repair the Yoshino. The ship's owners wanted the work done by April 1st, and the local crews managed to finish the job 3 days early. This was the first major ship repair at the century-old shipyard in several years. The Yoshino will remain anchored outside the breakwall for about a week before heading to Duluth for a load of grain.
It's been 10 years since Loch Lomond Ski Area brought back its popular dummy downhill competition. And the ski hill was packed with spectators yesterday to watch the dummies come flying down the giant. Winners were chosen in 2 main categories, furthest down the hill and best crash. This year, there were 14 colorful and imaginative entries. Loch owner Jason Gary was both the announcer and the judge for the competition. He says he was looking for style and speed.
They come out with their best dummy that they think can make it down the ski hill and win the competition. Most have some fun background stories, and it's just a really fun event that people like to come out for and be silly. We had one actually from a high school tech class, and then we also had a bunch from just people that have come back every year. We have some that actually, looking back in the history of them, have been coming out for 25 to 30 years.
The event also had a live DJ. The spectators laughed and cheered on their favorites as the dummies flew down the hill or crashed along the way. Well, and it truly is the perfect time of year for a competition like that. You get to enjoy the snow and fairly nice weather, especially on a day like today.
Absolutely. I know there's still a lot of complaints. There might still be after my forecast tonight. But I've been kind of having fun with a little bit of the snow, and the milder temperatures makes it just more easy to enjoy it. Now, today we started out with a low of -7, wind chills of -12. That certainly supports the snow that we've been experiencing and kind of continuing to stick around overnight. Daytime high of 1 makes it comfortable, but it's not going to melt a whole lot. So these are the temperatures that help sustain activities like that dummy downhill. If we take a look what's going on throughout the region, pretty consistent temperatures ranging from 0 to 1 in Fort Frances at this hour with loads of sunshine, all the way to about -3, which is unusual to be this consistent throughout the region. Red Lake has stayed below the freezing mark throughout the day. Wind chills currently sitting at -8, as is the case for Sioux Lookout, Armstrong, Greenstone, and some areas along the North Shore. But as I noted, Fort Frances just making it on the plus side at 1. Loads of sunshine to the west, a little bit more cloud as you head further east. Sault Ste. Marie has been staying below the freezing mark today, and the temperature pretty steady. Started out at -5, hit a high of -3, and seems to be basically waffling back and forth under those mostly cloudy skies, and wind chills of -10. Here in the city of Thunder Bay tonight, it's going to be a little bit cooler, -14, although with winds starting out 50 km but tapering off this evening, wind chills will only feel a couple degrees cooler than these numbers would suggest. So it's actually not a bad night as far as the wind chill is concerned. Temperatures may be a little bit cooler than we have been seeing, but tomorrow's actually looking pretty good, and I definitely want to encourage everybody out to get out and enjoy the sunshine tomorrow, because we've got another shot at another winter storm just to kick off the new month. I know Ryan's thrilled.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad that tomorrow is going to be looking good for people. That's
very sunny.
There we go.
the extent of my comments on that. All right, thanks a lot, Fiona.